Bro, having fun. You're allowed to have fun. It doesn't matter. But you know where we'd be the very next day. Back here in the gym. Alright, so can you have fun on self-improvement? So the reason why I have fun in like air quotes in the title is because, not air quotes, but regular quotes in the title, is because I understand that fun is subjective to everybody. So while I might think that self-improvement is fun in and of itself, like I might think that waking up at 6 a.m., taking a cold shower, exercising and reading and doing all these things is fun personally, but somebody else who's maybe not into self-improvement might not think those things are enjoyable. So I do understand that fun is a subjective term, but for the purpose of today's discussion, I wanted to use fun as a synonym or representation of the idea of typical depictions of fun, or like instant gratification, what we would in the self-improvement space consider instant gratification activities. So, you know, like partying and drinking and doing things like that, where, you know, here it's kind of demonized, but I just wanted to share some perspective and talk about what happened the other day. So I went to a concert the other day. I can roll some clips here. That's like something that's considered traditionally fun, I guess, or typically considered fun for normal everyday people. So are you allowed to partake in those activities, I guess, is the central focus of today's video, because I think it gets a lot of bad rep. Everybody always talks about, you know, delaying gratification and not partaking in instant gratification activities because of what we're working towards in the future. And while I do agree with that, I do think there are times where you can kind of sprinkle in some of that instant gratification. You know, you don't have to completely deprive yourself of all forms of entertainment and pleasure. But the reason, like, if you know me, I'm pretty strict with my routine and how I spend my time. I don't really like to go out on the weekends, or I don't drink, so it's hard for me to kind of not get along with other people, but, you know, it's hard for me to like fit in with everybody else that is in college, because they're all, every weekend they're like, oh, why don't you come drink with us or go to some house party or something like that. But that's not really that's not what I would consider fun. I understand that it's traditionally and conventionally fun as the social norm in college, at least. But for me personally, I don't take enjoyment or pleasure anymore out of those activities, because I used to, but I don't know, now I guess I just have different goals and a different outlook on life where I'm not really focused on those kinds of things as much. So basically, what am I trying to get at here? I think you can have fun, but as long as you're not like thrown off, you can't like use that, you're like, oh, I went out last night, as an excuse to skip the next day, or, you know, take the weekend off. As long as you're getting right back into it, right back into the swing of things. So in terms of moderation, you know, I've talked about that principle being a like universal truth where you can kind of apply that to any situation in your life. I don't necessarily think that applies as readily to this idea of like instant gratification versus delayed gratification, at least on self-improvement, because I think that you have to be more on the stricter side of it. You know, I did say that you could sprinkle a little bit of instant gratification in here or there, but if you allow yourself to be like dead set in the middle with moderation and applying moderation to your ideas of like, oh, having instant gratification but also having or prioritizing delayed gratification, I think that if you are dead set in the middle, you're kind of setting yourself up to failure. So like if you're saying that for half your day is instant gratification, the other half of your day you're practicing delayed gratification, I think you're just setting yourself up for failure, because eventually I think that you'll slip to the instant gratification side because of how like tempting it is. So in terms of how moderation is applied with this idea, I think that you definitely have to be more on the extreme side of delayed gratification. So like if the scale was like here, we don't want to be here in the middle, we want to be like closer to here, if that if that made any sense. So I think you definitely have to be more on the side of delayed gratification when you're just on self-improvement in general, because of how, you know, tempting it can be to succumb to the temptations of instant gratification. And like I said, if you are splitting your days half and half, like half instant gratification, half delayed gratification, that's not really setting you up for your goals, because maybe that's like actually what the majority of people do. Is the majority of people will be dead set in the middle with their balance of moderation, and they might think that's the good idea. But in self-improvement, it's a little bit flipped, where you don't want to be half and half, half instant, half delayed gratification. You want to be more towards the side of long-term delayed gratification, and that's kind of what will bring your successes over the long term. So I also just wanted to say that, like, you know, that's not something that I do every weekend. I don't go to concerts every weekend because, for one, it's expensive, and I don't think my wallet can afford that right now. But for two, I think that, you know, that I purchased those tickets like almost a year ago, so I guess it was like I didn't have necessarily the same outlook on finances and what I should be spending my money on completely when I bought those tickets. So not that I regret it at all, because I did enjoy it. I did enjoy myself, and I had fun because it was an artist that I enjoyed listening to, and, you know, played a role in, I guess he kind of played a role in my self-improvement journey. But anyways, I don't want you to devoid yourself of all entertainment, because like if you find music as fun, that's like one of your passions, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to never go to a concert again until you're ultra rich and successful and famous or whatever. That's not the point. I think you can still sprinkle that in here and there, but you can't, you know, like every weekend go to a different festival or a different concert, because for one, if you're spending your money that readily on things that they kind of just come and go, it's not providing you any long-term benefit aside from experiencing that pleasure in the moment. So, you know, if that's what you're spending all your money on, how are you ever going to be able to keep any money for yourself, basically, is what I'm trying to get at there. So obviously, just sprinkle these things in wisely. Not saying that you have to go extreme monk mode or to one side of the extreme for anything, but definitely take caution, because when you're dealing with instant gratification, I'm sure a lot of us have had experience with it in the past, and that's kind of why we're where we are today, is because of what we've went through. And we're like, you know, social media addiction, we don't really want to have to go through, like, porn addiction, we don't want to have to go through these things again. And that's why it's important to be mindful of when you incorporate or when you lean over to the instant gratification side instead of solely focusing on your purpose. But maybe this was more of a long-winded discussion. I'm thankful and grateful if you stayed till the end. Definitely leave a like if you found this discussion insightful at all, because my arm's hurting now. But yeah, that's going to be the video for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time, and remember to stay on target.